This is an FD RX7 that we bought in Japan, and believe it or not, this one doesn't work.
Now, I don't know a great deal about rotaries.
I don't know anything, Martin. All I know is that they have a reputation for not working, but that is not a reputation that will extend to this particular vehicle, is it?
That's right. They're just a little bit different. And apparently can be very reliable if done right, which is what we're going for here. So we've done a whole bunch of work in the last episode.
You're a little bit different, Martin.
Thank you,
But I like you for it.
Thank you, I think.
I know you come across a bit odd sometimes, but
No, that's a backhanded compliment.
No, I like it.
I know that you wear really old, stinky shoes that you never replace, but you're a good dude.
I'm wearing the shoes
you wore the new ones!
I wore the new ones. Do you know why? Because it's raining outside and the other ones have got holes in them. That's the only reason. And because I care. No, but Martin, sometimes we need to celebrate the difference that is the oddity.
Yes.
You are the RX7 of the human world.
Because really good looking.
Make great noises,
really
often
good looking,
in blue.
Very attractive.
And
very good looking, sleek.
You're actually quite reliable though. So that doesn't quite work, does it?
I don't know.
Martin, we've got some jobs to do.
Yeah, we don't actually know exactly what we're doing, which we've pretty much made clear to you already.
We don't know
but we're just gonna keep going because this is a learning experience. But some stuff we do know is we've got some suspension to work on. We've got some seat mods that you guys suggested we could try, so we're going to try.
How good are the comments?
A comment section mod. That's what we're doing. And just try to get it working. And then later on, probably going to go revisit my friend Omar, who you met last episode, to give me a hand to try and actually make it run.
Plus, we have our limited time only RX7 posters. We will individually autograph it and send it to you anywhere in the world from right here, Super Garage HQ in Sydney, Australia. Once these are gone, they will be gone forever. Don't wait till some flog puts one on eBay for $1,000. You can get yours for a lot cheaper than that directly from us, and it supports the show. Martin, let's run some graphics.
Crack into it.
Let's put the car up. Wheels can just go off and go straight. I've just made some space for them over there. We'll make a little pile of them.
Okay.
And then let's do some suspension.
At some point in this car's life back in Japan, someone did a few mods like an upgraded intercooler, coilovers and wheels. Like just about every import, this one has 60,000 kilometres on the clock. Usually, however, the suspension is the giveaway if the odometer's been fiddled with because it's all worn out and noisy. In our case, it's showing signs of age, but not all of it needs to be replaced. As usual though, if there's an easy mod to chuck at it while it's all apart, it's absolutely the time to do it, especially if it's something you're gonna do anyway. Personally, I'm loving working on this RX7, even if it is pushing me out of my comfort zone.
Remember when we talked about going around Japan in an RX7 or a GTR?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Next to a waterfall?
That the RX7 is like the ultimate version of what it is. And that the R34 GTR is the ultimate version of what that is.
We're agreed, man.
If we can agree on that, then all we need to do is come back to Japan, get one each, and go for a drive.
That was very memorable. We literally talked shit for 20 minutes about which would be a better car to drive around Japan, an RX7 or a GTR.
But we have an RX7, but we don't have a GTR, so we'll never know.
We'll never know. There's nothing worse when you're doing shocks in the rear of a car and you have to blow apart your entire interior just to get to those two bolts. Like literally whole boot has to come out in a Subaru.
Except Mazda are mad dogs because they know you're going to be zooming along and even zooming along, extra zooming with your lowered mad coilovers, which is why if you just give this stuff a punch, look at that. Access right there.
How good is that?
Blip it off,
Love it.
and down you go.
This actually adds awesomeness to a car like this, doesn't it?
Yep.
Because it just makes all this sort of stuff fun and enjoyable.
I was reminiscing about the time that I first saw one of these. I reckon it would have been the early late 90s, maybe early 2000s, rolling around my 180SX, and I saw one of these that was just all black. And it must have had big wheels on it, like 17s back then. Some Tempe tyre specials. And I just remember thinking that is a Batmobile. Like, it just looks so cool. It has such street presence. And unlike a lot of cars that I think have aged quite poorly, I think this still looks amazing. It still looks current, not current as in the current robot vomit, but it looks like a current design.
They really had to go. I don't feel like they cheaped out like they do in a lot of other cars.
No.
Like, they didn't make it all plasticky and whatever. Do you remember when we saw one of these at the auction for $300 in 2010?
Yep.
So everybody wants a cheap car. They want something fast for not much bucks. This RX7 here, $300. No, not $3,000, $300 for this RX7.
$300.
Yep.
It was a bit munted.
But $300.
$300. All right, whiz these off, shocks come out.
The days of $300 RX7s might be over, but the era of epic aftermarket parts is in full swing. We have braided lines, new shocks, bushes, all the stuff that makes an old car feel new again, ready to breathe new life into this old chook cooker RX7. And we're pretty sure these rear arms are the ones that were making all that noise on our Japan road trip.
That does sound very similar to that sound we had in Japan, though.
When we were driving or at the Love Hotel?
Both. Do you remember when we tried to convince that guy that we weren't having sex, we just wanted to film at his shop? And he said no?
4 or 6.
ですね、4人1部屋らうちはダメですよ。
Uh-oh.
はいはい。ですね、うちはですね、部屋が足りない。
We've just called our friend who speaks Japanese, who's translating for us.
Sorry guys, only for guys and girls, no guys and guys.
Oh, okay. Can you tell him we don't want to have sex? We're making a documentary. We have been denied a room at Hotel Banana. Relax your body. So we will. We'll have to go somewhere else. No Hotel Banana for us tonight.
If you'd gone in like individually, allowed. I go in individually, allowed. 2 blokes together, not allowed.
Is that a Japanese thing?
Well, it's that Love Hotel specifically. I wouldn't say it was a Japanese thing. It might be.
Okay.
But, but if you walked in with a woman...
You don't think it's because you and I rolled in going, how you going, with a film crew?
Probably less that, and more the fact it was 2 blokes. It was COVID still, remember? Like, people were freaking out the fact we were even there. Because that was the first week Japan opened.
Yeah.
And we were like some of the only people that weren't Japanese that were there in the whole country.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's the Love Hotel joint. That goes there. Like, these things have some pretty interesting suspension. I mean, look at that. It's very unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to rebush just this because we think that's where it all is. You could go and rebush your entire rear end. Many have done it. But I just want to start here, keep it simple, do this.
One of the best ways of making your car feel like new again is replacing all your bushes. Now on these, this car's been rolling around for almost 25 years, and you can imagine, particularly in the roads of Japan, all of this rubber can go hard, can perish, and get thrashed. So, while the suspension's out, we're going to change it with some of this stuff that we've been sent over from Whiteline.
And this is the best time to do it because the whole thing's apart. We've got a variety of bushes here, front, rear, steering rack. Bushes like this, ones that you need to press out, so you will need a press, or you need to go to someone that has a press to do it. There are other tools you can also use at home to pull the bushes out as well. So this is the best time to do it. It can sharpen up your steering feel as well, make the suspension feel tight and new again. So we're going to go through it. Any bushes we can find that need replacing, we'll replace them, and it's going to be excellent.
Press those in, Martin, and we are one step closer to a non-clunking, working FD RX7.
We're going to rebush the front upper arms as well, as it's a quick and easy job to press out the old ones and then install new bushes back into them. At this point, you can get aftermarket adjustable arms as well if you're going full stance pants or race car, but we reckon these upgrades will more than suffice for a street car. It's important to apply grease to all the bushes to make sure you don't get any squeaks and noises, and it is something you can do again later if you find that happens. We're also going to upgrade our brake lines with some braided brake lines I got, not just for performance, but also because the original ones are nearly 25 years old.
next step, we are putting in some coilovers. Now, Chris from Shockworks, Chris from Victoria, actually came up and went through how these are made, which is pretty awesome. So these are made specifically for the car. I also asked for a specific kind of response in the shocks for the kind of driving I'm going to do, which realistically is more road than track, but it's just a nice upgrade. The ones that came out are good, actually. Not bad at all, but a bit old and clunky.
Suspension is in, Martin. One step closer to non-clunking rotary goodness.
Absolutely. A couple of bushes fixed as well. Next, I'm actually going to take the car down to see Omar at his workshop because he's got a whole lot of parts there and a lot of very, very clever rotary dudes to help me do the last of this stuff before we do some wiring, do the last of my plumbing, make sure I've got it right. It's really important. I don't want to mess this up. The car is way too cool.
All right. If you don't have a poster yet, things dropping down, link down below, limited time only. We'll sign it, we'll send it to your door. Martin, I can't wait to race this with my 180SX on a track in a safe and controlled environment.
Oh, it's going to be unreal. Just the ultimate in early 2000s and late 90s. It's going to be excellent. So we're going to chuck this on a trailer and take it down to see Omar.
The FD looks quite at home here, and it turns out Omar Daly's a blue one too, only his works. There's more Dorito-shaped spinny triangle engines here that you can poke an apex seal at, and I'm pretty keen to get mine finished off with some help from the pros.
I've brought the FD down to Omar's shop here at Race Only. He's got a bunch of very talented gentlemen that work for him, making all this rotary dreams come true. Mostly focusing on FD, but there's a whole lot of rotaries up there, Series 1, RX3, quad rotors, all sorts of crazy stuff. The reason I've come here is there's a lot of fiddly bits that I need to finish, and in maybe a Subaru or something else, I would just know what they are, but I really don't, so I'm blanking. So I thought I'll bring it here. He's got a mad stash of parts that he keeps in stock on the shelf, a lot of which he makes himself, and we've been able to sort of pick through. So there's a couple of things to finish off here under the intake manifold. We're getting very close now to being able to put the intake manifold on and then sort of get it all plumbed up, ready for wiring, where we'll probably go visit Dave and Scott at Haltech to do those kind of finishing touches. But yeah, nice to be in a rotary workshop around all these mad cars.
I asked Omar if I could just go through all the small details to get tips and advice on how to finish everything off. I had to plumb in the flex sensor so there's an option for ethanol down the track, and then install some mad parts I'd sent away, like these intercooler pipes I made that Mark from Barrel Brothers kindly powder coated for me. We chose a satin black so they'd blend nicely into the engine bay. Powder coating is a good way to get a bit more durability and chemical resistance while still having an awesome looking coating, and it's a little different from just the normal shiny bright aluminium. So now it's time for the fun part, which is throwing all these mad parts into the engine bay.
So I stole a bit of scrap out of James's bin of scrap, and then I made this template, and I was gonna go and sneaky do it, and he saw me and he's like, no, we don't do that around here. So now I have a battery tray. Awesome. We made a ton of progress at the beginning of the day with all these little fittings and getting the top hat back on and the intercooler pipes in, but we did run into a snag with the oil drain. We just couldn't clock the turbo the right way to get it in, and also these big turbos, these big Garretts, they don't have much room for the actual oil drain under there, so it's very, very tricky to get fittings onto it. These boys worked some magic and managed to machine down a fitting to get it fit on, which is the reason I didn't do it back at Super Garage. I just didn't have the right fittings. So they've managed to make it work, which is great, but we have had to reclock the turbo, which means one of the water lines is now wrong. So we're going to remake that, and then everything can start to be bolted back together. The second this has an intercooler pipe on it, we're done here, which is great, and the next stop will be Haltech. Well, Omar, it kind of fought us a little bit, didn't it?
It did, just a little bit.
We were having too much luck early in the day because I'm like, this is amazing. Your fittings all work, we get all the right stuff, we plumb it in, then we're like, let's do the oil drain. And that was literally like 6 hours ago.
That was 7 steps back before we could finally take that step forward.
What's your experience with these particular turbos and those oil drains? Like, what do you reckon the drama is there?
Look, it's a really small space. Like, every time we've ever done one of those, we have to do all the lines before we fit up the turbo setup.
Right.
And we end up having it in and out like probably 2 or 3 times before we finally say, this is it. Because once it's in, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So I would dare say as well, I mean, in that oil return, I'd say there's probably a part to be made there to make life a little bit easier. But nonetheless, it is.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy. All your stuff worked like really nicely. Like all the stuff you guys have designed, I think just makes this a lot more fun, especially for someone like me playing a lot at home. You know, putting all this together, and thank you for having me down today to do the finishing touches.
No worries.
I think it's kind of ready to do the last little bit of wiring and start.
Yeah, I think so. I think you guys are ready for it.
Any parting wisdom to do with these things? What about tuning it? What's your expectations?
If that engine is good, I reckon you guys will make 350 horsepower. That's my guess. But if the engine's a bit old,
we'll be seeing you for a rebuild and some billet rotors, and you're like, please don't come back.
You know what? I reckon you guys will be good. I
Fingers
reckon it'll
crossed.
go well.
Fingers crossed. All right, we're going to go drop this up the road at Haltech. Let's go. We have changed locations. We're now down at Haltech. We chucked this on the trailer behind the Amarok and we've brought it down to Haltech so that we can do the final little bits of wiring. So I've mounted up the battery. Now it's kind of Dave's show. He got most of this wiring done when we were back at Super Garage, but now that everything is in place, including pipes and all the plumbing that was missing, he'll now be able to wire this up. So we don't know if we're going to get it running today, this episode. We're going to give it our best shot. If we don't, next episode we're going to be running and dynoing to see what this thing can make with its nice big single turbo. Time to talk about fluids. I went down to Super Cheap Auto to grab a whole bunch of fluids. Most importantly at this stage is engine oil. So I'm using Castrol DTX 1540. It's not Edge, as you'll notice, because rotaries do like a more basic oil with less modifiers and stuff in it. Why? Because they burn a fair bit of oil. So for that reason, I've actually got 2 of these as well, plus an extra filter, because being at the dyno, you just never know. It might be a good idea to change the oil and filter again, also just to keep an eye on it to make sure the engine's happy. Now, it hasn't done much work in the last year or 2 while it's been sitting around, so we've got to make sure that that's all going to work well. We're also going to do coolant because we drained that. Sounded like a rotary when we emptied it. Check this out. Blew my mind. We've also got limited slip diff oil and transmission oil. Transmission's pretty simple, basic things, similar to what they use in a lot of other Japanese cars around the time, and of course power steering fluid. So while Dave's doing wiring, I'm going to do a whole fluid change.
ultimate biggest nut. Look at that. But it has these like drain plugs with square ends on them. So that's apparently what you use. All right, full fluid change done. Diff, gearbox, engine, and coolant. Now there's a little bit of stuff for Dave to do in the background. Then when we come back, we're going to throw it onto the dyno, which will be next episode. Thank you very much for watching this one. It's been a big, nerdy RX7 festival of ideas from all the RX7 nerds out there. But yeah, I'm really enjoying learning about it. I'm really happy with how this is looking. I can't wait to hear it come on Boost for the first time. It's going to be excellent. Thanks for watching. See you next time.